This week, Twitter broke the internet, but for the wrong reasons. After 10 years of running its logo as the iconic bird, it decided to change its brand to just, get ready for it, X. Yep. Now, what does an X have to do with anything related to Twitter? Twitter even has its verb, tweet, in the dictionary, which generally everyone knows what it means. What is next, like Xer? Now, this could be Elon taking over Twitter and had that lifelong ambition of naming everything X. For instance, his first company, SpaceX, and also one of his children. Like, how do you even pronounce that? Could you even bully someone with that kind of name? Well, here's the thing. Elon Musk has a pretty profound record when it comes to building companies, and there might be some reason for why he took this drastic turn of X besides just this fixation of the letter X. So I thought I would talk to someone who's an expert in branding. So I reached out to Julie Forginini Guides to get her take on this new rebranding. Currently, she teaches at the Universidad de los Andes. You teach what, web design and
Yeah, I teach web design in the University of Los Andes and also photography.
okay, so two really important things that it comes down to branding, because branding, of course, for websites is like first and foremost. Like you need that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the base. That's the
Yeah.
base. So you cannot build a website without branding. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't.
But yeah, it looks like maybe a 5-year-old did it or someone bought it on, the black
Yeah, and
market
it
of the internet.
won't make you different from your competitors.
Right.
So that's key in any business.
Right.
That's why branding is the base.
So walk me through this. What do you think of an X as just an icon? Because I'm thinking of like pirates, like X marks the spot.
Yes, it can be thought of as a treasure, like the X marks the
Maybe
treasure,
that's
the
maybe
spot.
that's the new angle. Like the value proposition is
That
X is
it could be valid. I mean, I don't think it was that well thought, but it's a valid approach. It's something they could leverage on from a storytelling point of view. However, things that pop to mind are obviously exes, like ex-boyfriends, ex-girlfriends, and uh, there's actually a key factor in this, which is toxicity.
mm,
And the reason I mention this is people have been saying about Twitter that it could be a very toxic social media.
sure.
It's one of the main criticisms social media in general has gotten in
The
the
people on
last
Threads say
years.
that about, and
Yes.
Mastodon say that, of course. Sure.
Yes. So picking an X can backfire. And it has its pros, its cons. It's something to analyze. But from a storytelling point of view, I think it's got uh, a lot of bad things
Okay.
that can be of significance when thinking of an X. So, yeah, it's a matter of how they will leverage it from a storytelling and from a copywriting point of view. But it's a risky take.
Right. And I think part of it was that they wanted to definitely disassociate themselves from the previous Twitter. However, I'm not really sure how they're going to have, let's say, verbs like X or whatnot for the way that they'll describe the action. But we were talking earlier, and you had actually a pretty interesting take on like the future of where you think they can go with this, because it's like there's a unique angle you had. And I was curious on your take.
Yes, I was investigating about this topic and seeing the reactions about it. And I think people in the marketing areas, mainly a Forbes interview I saw, are talking about how this is a rebrand,
Mhm.
but a rebrand from the perspective of different package, same product, which is
Yeah.
Twitter, like tweeting, text-based social media. But I don't think that's the case with Elon Musk here. I think the reason, besides saying it's an X because of SpaceX and X.com, I think the main thing Elon Musk wants with this is a change from the base up. So it's
A new
not
product.
just a rebrand. Yes,
Yeah.
it's not just a rebrand. It's a new product, and not even a new product. It looks like it will be an umbrella brand. It
Mhm.
looks like he wants to do many social medias. So
Okay.
it's going to be text based, video based, picture based. We'll have to wait and
But
see. But I don't think it's going to be Twitter anymore. I think Twitter is going to change. The
right,
product is going to change.
from a branding perspective, could X have negative connotations with it outside of just, X marks the spot or ex boyfriend, ex girlfriend? Do you think that could backfire when you have something like Threads coming down the road?
It it has already. I think it has already. I will argue that Threads is a tough competitor. It has been the fastest growing social app or web-based product in history. It even surpassed ChatGPT.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's not to be taken lightly. However, I think X still has a value proposition that is very
Mhm.
different from Threads. Mainly the controversial topics that are spoken in that social media, and that's something it inherits from Twitter. But what I believe is that Twitter and X have a different value proposition. So Threads is more like Instagram. It's more fashion, it's more entertainment, it's more beauty based. And Twitter, now X, will still remain that place where people can talk about deeper topics, politics, and more controversial threats as well, let's say. So, yeah,
Colors. I get
it's more
that.
serious.
I
Now
get,
it's more
yeah.
serious.
So I get the color matches, the Model X, SpaceX. Would you, for like a consumer facing brand, what would really the black and white color really convey?
It's more serious. It's a more adult uh, social media, I would say.
Mhm.
And one of the takes I heard from other users in regards to what black and white could convey in terms of X, uh, it's that it could be seen or be perceived as a more sincere social media. So that's actually a positive feedback I heard, because it's like we're not just another friendly um, family friendly social media. It can be taken as a more serious social media. And I think for Twitter's, now X, value proposition, it actually can fit.
It's an interesting point with the black and white piece because maybe that means more of bipartisan, right? Because it's not
It,
like a blue or a red. It's like more of a black and white, right or wrong, like
I agree.
removing. Okay, so do you think that might have been the angle in terms of all the controversy that's been happening where he took it over and the main thing was, hey, I want to open up free speech, and that might be more of a way or of making it reflective of that value? Or do you think that's more of his fixation on the letter X and he wants it to be the same throughout his companies?
Unfortunately, I do think it has more to do with his fixation,
Okay.
because from a marketing perspective, you would have done a pre-testing. You would have asked your users. I mean, if you bought a social media with a lot of users in it, with a lot of history in it, you would ask your users, hey, what do you think about this change?
Right. Yeah.
He did ask about the black, though, but that could have been interpreted by the users as just, okay, let's have a dark UX, UI. He didn't do a pre-testing, and that is unfortunately a narcissistic take in terms of, I'm the boss,
Yeah.
this is the decision,
Sure.
just deal with it.
Do you think the black and white would have a different interpretation where you are in the world?
Yes. So black and white can mean very different things depending on where you're at.
Mhm.
So, for instance, there are some Asian countries where white is seen as the color of the death.
Mm.
So it's not like this light or angels or Christian worldview. So yeah, definitely colors do mean something different depending on where you're at.
Mm.
However, I have to give approach this color palette in terms of their neutral colors. So
Right.
black and white are always going to be, let's say, trending in fashion because they're very neutral.
And what would be, let's say, non-neutral colors that, in a good way, he didn't pick?
Whoa. Basically, any color that is actually a color can have a different psychology depending on where you're at.
Okay.
There are some main cues. For example, purple can be taken as a mystery color, as a magic color. That's why Disney uses it a lot.
Mhm.
But it can have different meanings depending on the country you're at. So that's definitely something you want to look towards when doing a rebrand.
Okay.
In this case, I would uh, stay with the connotation, let's say the significance of it being just okay, a neutral palette, a more serious brand.
Mm.
I'm picking the X because of my history with SpaceX, Umbrella brand,
Sure.
etc. But I think it can backfire, especially because Threads used the black UI before they did.
Mhm.
So they implemented the whole dark UI.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to differentiate yourself from your rival, that's not what's happening right now.
Right.
So it's
And
they're kind of looking like the same.
what about the typography? Anything about the typography that you think is worth mentioning?
Yes. From a typography point of view, there's a major issue with what he picked.
Yeah.
And let's dive deeper into that because it's not just as simple as having picked an X. There's a lot of things that come with that naming.
Okay.
So, first off, the visuals. The
Mhm.
visual he picked wasn't a custom logo. It's just a standard X that actually exists in the Unicode uh, keyboard. So it's not something that you can make a trademark of. It's not unique.
It's and people have different experiences with that letter X for various reasons, and that can also um, mess with the initial messaging he's trying to go through as well.
Yes. So there's a lot of things with that X. It's from an SEO point of view, for example,
Mhm.
it's just harder to position yourself with just an X. It's not a unique name, it's just a letter of the alphabet.
Right.
Of course, he has, let's say, the power and money to make it work, but it's harder than just having remained with the Twitter name. So it's
Okay.
forcing a lot of things.
So you,
Visually, the X isn't distinctive enough. And when you're doing a rebrand or a brand project from scratch, one of the key things you need to have in a brand for it to be successful is for it to look and feel different from anything else.
mhm.
So, sure, you can be inspired from different things, yes, but using an X that I can literally write with my keyboard, which he actually did, he tweeted about it, um, isn't distinctive.
Right.
So, if he wants to register that from a law perspective, it's going to be very difficult. It can backfire very quickly. It's going to have a lot of costs. It's going to be
For the
very
trademark.
much, yes, the
Yeah.
trademark,
Okay.
the law aspect, registering it, not only the naming, like not only the xname.com, but also the visual, like the logo they picked isn't distinctive enough. It's not like he didn't a custom X, a custom logo that is very distinctive, like a very distinctive X. No, it's a generic X taken from a typography. It's not the same product. What I've
It's
seen
not
from
this.
other marketing experts is that they're interpreting it as if it was the same product, different packaging. It's just Elon Musk being arrogant. That's not my take on it. My take on it is this is a different product. We want a different packaging. This is a whole rebrand.
Yeah.
And I think he just bought Twitter to buy the users. What he did was buying the users, eliminate the competition. So let's take this competitor away from us. Twitter doesn't exist anymore since it's not profitable anymore. It doesn't exist anymore. Let's do a new brand. So I wouldn't even be talking about the rebrand. I would
Mhm.
be talking about a new product, a new X product, a new Elon Musk product with a new face.
No.
Also heard from many users from Twitter, like real Twitter fans, let's say, is that it at the end of the day, what matters is that the experience in the app is nice and that they get the value they want from it. So yeah, I will double down on the new target audience. I think it's going to take away the young people from it. And I think Threads is going to capitalize on that. And that's going to be a loss for certain for Twitter and or X now. I think the main problems are regarding copywriting, like the verb treating. It's something that is already installed in our minds. Changing the brand name, it's just not going to cut it. I don't think you can force people to just change the way they have adapted to things. So I think it was a very aggressive move to do that. And I would worry more on the storytelling aspects of the brand and how the visuals can help tell that story. And I think
that was
from what I see right now, that's not happening. Okay. That's not happening. So I see the main issue I see with the rebrand or the new brand is the storytelling doesn't seem complete. It doesn't look like a solid strategy. And we'll have to see if they're able to make it work in terms of the story it's telling. But from what we see right now, it doesn't look complete. It doesn't look like a full-fledged new product. So we'll have to wait and see if that's something they can fix or not.
Got it. So Julie and I talked for a really long time, probably over an hour, but we condensed it to about that short time frame period. And we covered everything from the colors, typography, copywriting, the storytelling behind the brand. And the big thing is there's a lot of shifts happening right now with Twitter, and it's very hard to say where things will be in the long haul, but there's going to be a huge amount of change, especially with Threads coming to the forefront this past week. If you like this content, go ahead and like and subscribe. See you next time.
In social media, and this happened with Twitter, X as well.
Tweaker or Tweeter? Or Twitter?
Twitter.
I like the Tweaker account. That's my favorite.